Very good morning and happy Independence Day to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. Let's have a positive start. Freedom is never given, it is won. It is not something that someone will come and give it to you. It is something that we have to earn, that we have to win. And that's what our forefathers did for us, right? They have gifted us a free country, and it is our responsibility, particularly youngsters, right? It is our responsibility that we take this free country to a next level, to altogether a different level, where each and every individual of our country is free, right? Equality is there. Everyone has access to all important items that are required for a decent life. With this difference, you can download the PDF of today's lecture from the links that are given on your screen. You can see the index as well of today's discussion. We have many important things to go through. The most important article that we find in today's The Hindu is this one. It is Market Across the Border. It is talking about bilateral trade, and we will read between the lines. We will go through this article and we'll try to understand why this particular relationship, this article is about relationship between India and Pakistan and why it is important. The thing is that if you go through lectures or articles or good books written by diplomats who have good reasonable experience in diplomacy, you will they all agree on this thing. You will come across this thing that they say that people to people contact, right? People to people, P2P, is one of the most important. It is base of any relationship. Now, when it comes to Pakistan and India, you know that we have many things in common: common culture, common food, common attire, so many things, right? Common belief system, and I can go on and on. So of course it was a big country, and we had this partition, and now we have from last 65 years we have two different countries, in fact three different countries. You can add Bangladesh in it as well. But when it comes to Pakistan and India, the potential that we have is immense, right? We can convert both the places, India and Pakistan, into one of the most developed countries in the world. How? Why? We'll go through it. Let me give you one example of P2P first. When sanctions were applied by USA on India, of course after our nuclear test, it was Indian diaspora, right? Our NRIs who were living in, or in fact who are living in USA, they started lobbying USA's government. And you know the weight of our Indian NRIs living over there. They are wealthy, they are well educated, right? They might not be the biggest in terms of numbers, right? But as far as their weight is concerned, they are heavyweights, and they started lobbying USA government that these sanctions should be lifted from their home country, that is India. And this lobbying played a very important role, and this was possible because of this people to people contact. This is not just one example. You can take example of ASEAN countries, right? Where people of those ASEAN countries, they have a very cordial relationship with people of our country, and one of the reason is cultural ties are tying us together. So these are the things. So the base that is required is already there, right, when it comes to India and Pakistan. And if we go through bilateral trade between each other, then what we find is that back in 2013-14 it was 270 billion. In 2017-18 we can see a big drop of nearly 0.30 billion, which is of course a big amount. So at present the bilateral trade is 2.40 billion, which is far below our potential. As far as Pakistan's exports to India is concerned, it has been fairly consistent. But when it comes to Indian exports to Pakistan, then we have seen a drop in this thing, which is of course a matter of concern for us. It indicates bad relationship between both the countries as far as trade surplus is concerned. And if you want to know more about trade surplus and trade deficit, then I'll give you a small example here for, of course, new students who have just started preparing for civil services or various different competitive exams. Take this example. This is India here, this is Pakistan here. Say for example that bilateral trade, total trade between both the countries is 100 rupees, right? Of course it's a hypothetical example here. So just imagine that total trade is 100 rupees between both the countries, and 60 rupees worth items are exported from India to Pakistan, and 40 rupees items are exported from Pakistan to India. So here we find this total is telling here with 100 rupees, isn't it? So what we see here is that we are selling more items to Pakistan than Pakistan selling items to us. So here you can see clearly we have an upper hand of 20 rupees. So this is called bilateral trades, or you can say trade surplus. We have 20 rupees trade surplus if we take this example with Pakistan, and when we see it from Pakistan's perspective, then we find that they have 20 rupees deficit when they are trading with India. So I hope this thing is clear to you. So again, it's a thing that is in our favor, that we have 1.4 billion surplus when we trade with Pakistan, but this is not a good number. 2.40, 2.70 is way below our weight. If we see indirect trade, and here is this gray area or shadow region, right? What happens is, things are, say for example, from India, things are exported to UAE, and from UAE it is exported to Pakistan. Same thing applies with when we talk about other way around, then as well same thing happens. So what do we find when you are sending items to a third country? Of course, supplying and storage charges and so many other things will add up. And if we see at present things, or the way this tri-party trade is going on, we find that it is 10 times more than this 2.40 billion. So we are talking about what, 20 billion plus trade is taking, but you have a big chunk is, you have a middleman or a broker in between, that is United Arab Emirates. So this indicates that we have a huge potential, and if we start trading with each other, then you can understand that expenses will come down, transportation and other costs will come down. There are so many different areas, like say for example, you have textiles, right? Raw materials that we can supply from India to Pakistan directly. And if we do this thing, then we can create this value chain. I have a small example of value chain as well. You can call it supply chain too. And value chain and supply chain are generally speaking similar thing. But when we talk about value chain, we are talking about adding value at each and every stage. So I'll give you a small example of tea. Say for example, tea, a product that is very dear to us, a product that is very dear to people of Pakistan. But the thing is, a good quality tea is available, raw material is available in India and not in Pakistan. So Pakistan, if I'm not wrong, they import huge quantity of tea from African countries. I think they get it from Kenya. Now see, we have same taste, right? They too prefer this Darjeeling tea. They too prefer tea that is produced in Assam, but they have to manage with this Kenyan tea. So we are missing a big market here. We can supply this raw material to Pakistan, and they can do packaging over there, and they can supply it to different parts of Pakistan, right? There are so many companies that they can do this thing. As far as raw material is concerned, let's say leather, right? Pakistan is very famous for leather production, and this raw material can be supplied to our country, and we can have designers and other people, and they can give good design leather jackets and leather clothes and shoes and your car seats and so many things, right? That are made up of leather can value added or value addition can take place here in our country, and so it will create more jobs, more opportunities. It is going to be beneficial for both of us. So same thing applies with textile, right? We can send them important this cotton, polyester and other sort of items as raw material, as semi-finished or finished goods to Pakistan from Surat and from Tamil Nadu, Tirupur, and this can be sent to this Faisalabad and Lahore and Karachi. They are big markets. Let me tell you one more thing coming from a personal experience, that in many countries, like in UK, right, when you go out to buy good quality jeans, right, you pay 50, 60 pounds or maybe 70, 100 pounds for branded good quality jeans, and the thing that you find is that they are made in Pakistan. They are good quality one, they are made in Pakistan, but raw material is not available in Pakistan. They have to get it from somewhere else. So imagine if we become part of this supply chain, it will be beneficial for us when it comes to Indian markets, right, Pakistan can supply us salwar kameez and dupatta and all this wedding attires like sararas and this sherwanis and other things in which they have expertise. India is a big market for Pakistan as well. When it comes to sports goods, Pakistan is a very, you can say, important player when it comes to original equipments manufacturing, when it comes to like football, hockey sticks and leather goods, weightlifting items and cycling gloves and so many other things for big brands are produced in Pakistan and they are supplied to different parts of the world. I'm not sure if you are aware about this thing, that very interesting fact here, that FIFA World Cup, these footballs were manufactured in Pakistan, but a thing that they don't have is latex, rubber, this football bladers and other things that can be supplied from our country. So we are missing this big market, right? Things are imported from Thailand by Pakistan. This can be easily supplied from India at a much cheaper rate. We have both in terms of waterways, in terms of land route, we are of course close to Pakistan compared to Thailand. So it's a big opportunity, 1.1 billion dollar opportunity that we have when it comes to medical equipments, right? Surgical instruments are produced in Pakistan and it is supplied to USA, Germany, France and Belgium, and we buy items from various different foreign countries when it comes to this sort of product. So if you are getting it from Pakistan, then you can imagine that the price will come down. And I'll give you a small example. If say for example a big scanning machine or something, right, MRI machine, if you can get it for 1 crore from USA, and if you can get it from 50 lakh rupees from Pakistan, then we can have two of those, isn't it? And if we have more of those items, then more people can be provided with health facilities. So direct imports between both these countries can be beneficial in terms of both economics as well as logistics. Back in 2014, we talked about this thing. Indian Prime Minister said that India is thinking about SARC visas, right? SARC stands for, of course, South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, and this SARC visa will be given to businessmen, businesswomen or business community from various different SARC countries. You know this on your screen, you can see 8 countries. All these 8 countries are part of this SARC, and this area has potential to surpass Europe. It may look surprising, but yes, this is possible. We have immense potential. We can create this value chain and supply chain between all of us, right? Things produced in Bhutan can be sold in Maldives. Items that are available in Maldives can be processed in India and sold to Nepal or maybe Sri Lanka. So this is something that we can do here with this region. But for that, we have to cooperate with each other. We have to get rid of all this animosity that we have. We do have issues with China as well. But one of the reasons why you don't find ceasefire violation and other things is because we have invested heavily between, we have invested heavily in China, and so has China invested in India. There are so many people of our country, right? Indians are living in China and Chinese people are living in India. So because the weight of this bilateral trade and investment and soft power and this people-to-people contact is so valuable that firing bullets is something that is never on board. Same thing can be done with Pakistan as well. I'll give you one example if it looks a bit utopian to you. Just take example of UK, Germany, France, right? These two countries together, they were against Germany in World War I and World War II. But what we find now is that these 3 countries, they have left this baggage of world wars, and they are working together, and in fact they are cooperating with each other, and they are doing very well. And one of the reasons is their cooperation. Same thing applies to this region too. With this, dear friends, second item that we have is, by the way, you have to look for this symbol here that you can see, right? This one. This means that this article's last page, we are on last page of this particular article. Moving on to another item, it is about we have 2 editorials. This one is about currency crossfire. It is about rupee and dollar. rupee getting weaker, dollar getting stronger. There are two ways through which rupee can go up and go down. The one way is, or first method is rupee depreciating. So this is something that is happening with rupee, and because of this thing, its value will fall down in terms of dollar. The other thing is dollar getting heavier. So at present, what we find is both these things are happening at once, right? We are grappling with this crude oil prices. Prices of this crude oil going up, and because of this thing we have to pay items. When we purchase crude oil, and 80% of our requirement is purchase, so we have to pay these things in dollars. So naturally we have to buy dollars, so dollars will be in demand, and because the demand of these dollars is high, then because of this thing, we have to the demand and supply kicks in. The rule of demand and supply kicks in. It becomes we have talked about this thing many a times, that when something or an item's demand, when it goes up, the price will go up as well if the supply is not matching the demand. So same thing happens with this dollar as well. Now, one of the reasons why we find that rupee has been going down, and one of the reason is it's not just rupee but other emerging markets, and their currency are also going down because of this Turkish lira. Lira is currency of Turkey. Here you can see the flag of Turkey on your screen, and one of the reason is this standoff that is going on, this conflict that is going on with USA. Because of this 2016 coup, this Islamic cleric who is in USA, and this president or this country of Turkey is requesting USA to send back that person, or to hand him over to the government of Turkey, but USA is refusing to do this thing. And because of this thing, this relationship, right, it is many a times we see that relationship is reaching its boiling point. The other thing is, if we observe rupee, then we find that back in 2017 it was at the end of 2017 it was 63.84 in comparison to dollar. And what happens when a rupee falls down? Let me take you through the negative or positive impact as well, and how our daily life gets affected by this rise and fall of rupee. When rupee gets expensive or dearer in terms of when its value falls down, then fuel becomes expensive, and you can understand this thing with the help of this example here. Exporters, right, will benefit, and importers will be hit very badly, because say we import crude oil. Let's take example that for $1, right, you have to pay 60 rupees, right? 60 rupees is equal to $1, and now you are purchasing, this is dollar, you are purchasing, or you require 1 liter of fuel every day. For that you have to pay $1. So earlier on you used to pay 60 rupees, but now when rupee is falling, so now if it is 70 rupees, then now you have to pay 70 rupees for $1 to purchase 1 liter of oil. So this is how it works. This is how importers they are in disadvantage when rupees value is coming down, and exporters, for them it will be good time, because earlier on they used to get 60 rupees for an item that they are selling for $1, but now they will be getting 70 rupees. When fuel becomes expensive, other items they do shoot up as well. Laptops, smartphones, electronic goods, these are the items that we import, electronic items. So they will become expensive as well. If you have borrowed from international organizations, big corporates, then their loans will become expensive as well, because now they have to pay more interest. They have to give out more rupee, right? Even if they are purchasing dollars, then they have to give more rupee. And you can see here that South Africa, Russia, Brazil, Argentina, Turkey has got the biggest fall. So currency in terms of percentage, it is 36.09. As far as India is concerned, we are affected by this ripple effect, and I have a question for you guys. Can you give me the name of this country? You can see a flag on your screen. Give me the name of the country to which this flag belongs to. And last item, dear friends, last few things that 7071 is not bad as per our economic advisor. Former chief economic advisor Kaushik Basu has said that this is the correct value of rupee. There is no point to be scared or to be in a panic mode, because we have 400 billion Forex reserve, Forex exchange reserve. And what do you mean by foreign exchange, or how it works? Forex means we have 400 billion dollar worth, or we have this much dollars with us, 400 billion. So supply and demand, right? If the demand of dollar is going up, then we can supply, we can inject dollars in the market, and this will this will neutralize this demand and supply, you can say, this mismatch. So this is how it works. So we have 400 billion, which is not a small amount, so we don't have to worry about it that much. Moving on to another item, it is about siege of Ghazni. Ghazni is a place, as you can see on your screen. It's not far from Kabul, some 150 kilometers away from Kabul, but located at a very strategically important place. Why it is in news? Because terrorists have killed nearly 100 security personnel, and more than 20 civilians have died as well during this terror attack. It connects Kabul, the capital, with the south of the nation of this Afghanistan, and because of this thing, if Ghazni is conquered, then Kabul will lose its connection with Kandahar and other regions of south, and then they can be conquered by this ISIS and Taliban. So it's a bad news coming from one SARC nation, a country with which we share very good relationship, and we want to see free and terror-free Afghanistan. And from last couple of months, this Talibani people, they have conquered this. They were nearby this periphery of Ghazni, and now they have started attacking, and so it's not going down that well. USA is providing air support, but still, right, it will be very difficult. At least it will take a couple of months to free this Ghazni city. What Taliban is trying to do here is, it is working on this strategy to make maximum military gains before entering into talks, so that it can throw some weight during this discussion. And it's said that on one side, Afghanistan and USA are indicating that they are ready to have a chat with Taliban organization. At the other side, we find that they are attacking innocent people as well as security personnel. Almost 44% of Afghanistan is controlled by insurgents. You can see here Taliban stronghold. All these red dots here, or red portion, is Taliban, and you see black portion here, right? This one is looked after by ISIS. So 45% of area is under this Talibani control, so it's again a big threat. Apart from that, dear friends, we have this article here on your screen. Hold on a second, here we go. This one, words of freedom, not that important. This article here, we have talked about simultaneous poll, we have talked about VVPATs. There are so many things that we have talked about, so you can have a quick glance here. It is an interview of our Chief Election Commissioner OP Rawat, and here you have one interesting concept called proxy voting. What proxy voting is all about? See, first of all, we have some 3 crore Indians who are NRIs, right? They are living in different parts of the world. Now, out of this 3 crore, roughly speaking, some 30 lakh Indians are eligible for voting. 30 lakh is not a small figure, isn't it? They are eligible to vote, but only 25,000 have registered under this electoral rolls. So why is this big drop down? Of course, no one will take a flight and come here just to vote, isn't it? It's going to be too much, too expensive for them. So this is something naturally we can understand will never take place. So this was something that was demanded by NRIs, and finally EC suggested that either they should be allowed to have a proxy. A proxy is a person who will, say for example, you are NRI, you as your proxy, you allow me to vote on behalf of you, so I will go there and vote on behalf of you. So this is something that can be done. And the other one is postal ballot. This was proposed by Election Commission to India and to Government of India, and Government of India has accepted this proxy method. This is what proxy voting, this is proxy voting, right, basically. And then we have this bringing up a science. It's about evolutionary biology, which is not that much promoted in our country. It is associated with this multi-drug resistance in microbes. Host range expansion can be studied only if we have this evolutionary biology flourishing in our country, as far as subject is concerned, as far as practice is concerned. So we need to promote this thing. Only then we would be able to cope up with all these changes in this host expansion, host range expansion, and other items that we are finding in this era of climate change. With this, dear friends, we go through, and I'll take you through this latest news items. The first one that we have is about this 300 army personnel. They have moved to Supreme Court against prosecution. Back in 2016, during this case of Manipur, right, the people and families from Manipur, they are seeking a probe into 1,528 cases of fake encounters, alleged fake encounters. So Supreme Court said that there is no concept of absolute immunity from trial by a criminal court, and this is something that has upset this army personnel, and they are protesting that on one side they are protecting the country, on the other side what they find is they are being prosecuted. A very sad news coming from city of London. You can see here one more attack took place. Of course, investigation is going on, but if we go back in 2017, then we find that on March, May, June, again in June, September, so 5 attacks were conducted in the city area of London, and again we see one more attack taking place. Still, government is going through it. One pedestrian has got injuries, and President of India addressed our nation on the eve of Independence Day. For the most important message that he gave us was on non-violence, on ahimsa, and he also talked about this a small gesture that we should try to abide by is following the queues, not to jump the queue, allowing other people, if they are standing in a queue, then we should not jump it. This is something that is a part of bad habit that we find in our country. As a youngsters, we are the ones who can change the things at ground level, and we should think about it, at least think about it, whether it is going to be fine, or is it a good thing that we are doing. We are not allowing other people to pass even on roads, so this sort of habits are not healthy. Ayushman Bharat scheme, we may hear many things about it. As far as important details are concerned, it is here on your screen. 2 gentlemen you can see on your screen. One is Major Aditya. He will be bestowed with this Shaurya Chakra. Sadly, Aurangzeb is not with us, right? But of course, he deserves this Shaurya Chakra too. Ordinance may be introduced by or promulgated by President to sort out this stand of High Court, and a thing that was supported by Supreme Court. It's about this SC/ST quota based on department rather than university. So this was something that was said by Supreme Court, and now let's see, right? Let's see what happens with it. It's a small update as far as financial items are concerned. Wholesale inflation eases a little bit, so it's a good news. Risks are, of course, higher oil price, minimum support price, and further rupee depreciation. Production has been good, so inflation is in control. As far as trade deficit is concerned, you can see here too much of petrol, too much of electronic goods, and of course we are obsessed with gold. So all these 3 items are one of the main reasons why our trade is in deficit. Here we have some important vocabulary if you are interested, right? One is grapple. Then you have dearer, hold on a sec, dearer, heft, tumult, and you have cleric, tumult and cleric. These are your answers, dear friends. You can see here Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, Lake Malawi, and Cape Verde is here. Then you have Madeira. Here is Reunion, and that's your Mauritius. I have one more question for you guys, and this question is again, it will force you to open your atlas. So it is a map based question, and of course you have to tell me the flag of that country. right, that was displayed when we were talking about Turkey and rupee. With this, dear friends, enjoy your Independence Day, and up to 50% discount is available on our pen drive and tablet courses, so make sure you make the most out of it. That's everything. I'll see you all soon tomorrow. God bless you all. Again, happy Independence Day. Jai Hind.